Good afternoon, class. My name is Julia Stevens, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my program design and implementation. It is a program called 2 Bites for Obesity Fight, and here are some pictures being displayed on the screen of me actually implementing the program. Okay, so now I want to show you guys where I've been this summer. So I have been in Franklin County, North Carolina. So if you'll follow the orange star, you can see that it is just north of Wake County, and it's about 21 miles outside of Raleigh. So, about Franklin County, North Carolina. So it's a rural county located in North Carolina Piedmont with a population of about 62,860. The municipalities of Franklin County are Bunn, Centerville, Franklinton, Lewisburg, and Youngsville. So there's 5. And what I want to talk to you guys about today is childhood obesity in Franklin County. So as you can see, childhood obesity in Franklin County, the rate is 22.9%, which is about 5% higher than the national average of 17%. So this is a big jump. It's also really interesting because in the most recent community health assessment of 2015, families were asked, what's the biggest barrier you think your family faces here in Franklin County? And 39.45% of them said lack of physical activity. And so it was really interesting to read that, because you're like, wow, but also you can compare it to the other data that within that question, and the next highest answer was at 18.35%. So that just shows that there was a big gap, and that this is obviously being recognized as from the residents of Franklin County as an issue as well. Okay. So this is also from the Community Health Assessment of 2015. It says obesity with a focus on physical activity and nutrition was ranked second in the top 2 health priorities in the county for 2015 and 2019. So this was a big driver for why I picked this topic, because not only was the issue made very clear within the data, but also with the county is able to say, hey, we've got to do something about this. So that is why I decided to do this. To give you guys some background on childhood obesity overall. So weight gain for children has been doubling during the summertime. So this has been questioned, like why. So I'll get into that a little bit later. So low-income children are particularly at a bigger risk. They have a lot of other barriers that a lot of other children don't run into. Additionally, it's a national epidemic. It's been a national epidemic for years now. And we really, really want to prevent childhood obesity because it's leading to a lot of adverse health outcomes for our children. Diseases such as type 2 diabetes, hypertension, coronary heart disease, all of those are options for people who are becoming obese during childhood. Also, it's really important to notice the effect that this has on population health overall, especially for our nation and even globally. It's a threat to our healthcare system. It's becoming a financial burden for everybody. And also, it was saying in the data that 30%, people who are obese spend 30% more money than those who are not obese on healthcare cost overall. It's nuts, it's crazy. So that's some background for you guys. So the risk and protective factors that were identified throughout this program were lack of access to healthy food. So during the summertime, children who are receiving free and reduced meals from school, they're no longer receiving those. So although there has been a lot of efforts during summertime to increase food supply for kids, they're not all fed. Data actually shows that 50% of children receive their daily nutritional value from schools. So during the summertime, when they're robbed of that, what do they do? Additionally, their food preferences, that's another risk factor. A lot of kids prefer the junk foods. Lack of knowledge, they might just not know. They might not really understand what the importance of eating healthy and the importance of physical activity is. In addition to lack of structured activity. So during the academic year, PE teachers, health educators, and teachers in general, they lead structured activity. So when kids are no longer in school, their structured activity declines. And then the protective factor that we have is summer camp. So kids who go to summer camp, they're presented with a positive environment. So that's going to be our protective factor when I was developing my program. Okay, so project overview. So obesity prevention program, 2 Bites for Obesity Fight, so the program that I have developed, was based off of an evidence-based intervention called Camp Nerve. So Camp NERF was an 8-week obesity prevention program that utilized numerous care plans, of which I am utilizing the standard care plan. So the standard care plan includes access to free meals, area for safe play, catch nutrition education, and then catch physical education. So those 4 components made this program evidence-based. And so when I was developing mine, I made sure to include those. The social cognitive theory was also used as the framework when developing this. It was put into the survey that I used, and I was able to pick 4 constructs that I used when I was developing my survey. And also when developing strategies, it was important to address that. And so then the implementation of my project was done in Franklin County, and it was done at the Boys and Girls Club of Franklin County. So I'll get into my population in a little bit about who I was targeting, but this was a really good place for me to go and receive my target population. Okay, so methods. So this is a pilot program that was developed. It's a qualitative evaluation design, so non-experimental, pre-test, post-test. And this is a really good design to use. It's strong. It's strong for pilot programs, and also because I wanted to do a pre and post test, I thought because I was following the same group of people from the beginning to the end, this would be the best option. The constructs that were addressed in the survey were knowledge, self-efficacy, self-control, and environment. All of these are constructs of the social cognitive theory, and they were really, really strong. They tied in most with the needs of the community and the risk factors. It all tied in well. Additionally, another important part of my methods was to run a Flesch CNAID grade level readability test. So this was important. I ran this on the survey that I conducted, the survey that I developed, and it was important for me to get between 3 and 5. So the target population for this program is 3rd through 5th graders, low income. And so because I was going to be working with 3rd through 5th graders, it was important to receive a score right in between. Also, students nowadays, their reading levels are a lot higher. So even if this would have been in the 6s or 7s, it probably would have still been readable for them. But I received a 4.6, so that was exactly the desired score, so that was exciting. But it took a few times to get to that. I had to reconstruct some of my questions. Okay, so I mentioned it was an 8-week summer program, 2 days a week for 2 hours at a time. This is all from the evidence-based intervention. This is exactly how Camp NERF did it. And they believed it provided the right amount of contact hours to create this behavior change and to prevent obesity. So the participants, as I mentioned, are the boys and girls at the Boys and Girls Club, grades 3 through 5. So Camp NERF, they conducted a study with 3rd through 5th graders also, and so that drove me to want to use 3rd through 5th graders. But also studies show that 3rd through 5th grade, they're at an age where they're really accepting of new behaviors and they're excited to learn, and this is the best time to ingrain what we want them to know in their heads. So the recruitment process was not utilized for this summer, in summer 2018, but it will be utilized for 2019. The recruitment process would be teachers at elementary schools in Franklin County would help recruit, and then flyers and newsletters are going to be sent out. And then the other important part during my methods section and how I made this happen was to develop community partnerships. So North Carolina Cooperative Extension and Healthy Communities were big partners of mine. Cooperative Extension, they have nutrition specialists there who are really good at developing recipes. And so when I was trying to figure out what kind of food I wanted to bring in for my kids, they were definitely who I wanted to work with. And then Healthy Communities helped fund all of the food that was purchased to create the food demonstrations. So all of this was very necessary, and it was fun. Okay, so here you can see a sample newsletter for the recruitment of 2019. I wanted to make sure that I could provide it so you guys could see what it would look like. So it just has the title, 2 Bites for Obesity Fight, and it tells them it's a summer nutrition and physical activity program. It tells parents a little bit about what the program is about and why they should sign their child up and who to contact if they want to. Okay, so results and findings. So because the final evaluation was not able to be conducted at this point, there's no statistical evidence yet. But when it is conducted, it'll be done in SPSS. Data will be put into the system manually, pre and post data. And this is also, it was a paired samples t-test because when analyzing data from pre to post test, this is a very, very effective style to use. So the data was given out as a survey, pencil and paper, and then the final post test will be given the same exact way. So the findings, none yet, but it's looking promising, I hope, because Camp Nerf had good outcomes, and I based mine off of theirs. So some observations I did make so that you guys can have some results were that the children loved role models. This just showed that the social cognitive theory worked out really great. Getting the counselors involved, they loved that. Me being involved, they loved that. When we were doing physical activity, as long as you were doing it with them, they were doing it. They also love learning from each other, so the vicarious experience was very important during this. Something else that I observed during this was it was challenging to keep the kids focused sometimes, but redirection was the best way to do it. They really are excited to learn, but you just have to keep them on track. And then also, food demonstrations are a hit. That was my favorite part of this program. I conducted a food demonstration each day of the program, and the food demonstrations were really interactive, and kids were able to eat a full meal from that. We had stuff such as orange oatmeal pancakes, yogurt parfaits, turkey tacos, fruit salad. There was a lot of things, and they loved it. So I'll actually show you a picture on this next page. Right here you can see how the bowls are basically empty. This was the food parfait day, and the kids loved it. They were coming back for more. And it was exciting because they are excited to learn. You know, they didn't understand that there was a difference between non-fat or low-fat yogurt and the yogurt that they eat where they throw all the candy in it. So it was exciting to show them this and to get them on board and have them excited about it. Additionally, I want to continue on with my discussion. The successful theoretical application, it was so successful. I was really excited about it. And just being able to apply the constructs to the risk factors that I mentioned previously was really nice. So I was able to address the knowledge of kids through the nutrition education segments, but also through the food demonstrations. They were able to learn to compare this food, whole wheat bread, is better for you than white bread, and understanding the difference. But the nutrition segments also taught them we talked about energy balance, we talked about fast food, we talked about a lot, and they were excited. So that's just one aspect of how exciting this was and how I felt that it was successful. Also, it was really cool to see how the goals and objectives did match my risk and protective factors and why that is so important. It was really exciting because now that everything's come together, I'm presenting on it now, I've written my paper and I've implemented the program, I can see why it was so important for everything to match up perfectly. And it made me be able to look back at what I did, reflect, and say, okay, I hit this goal, I feel like I hit this goal, and this objective was met, etc. So just to reflect a little bit, I want to tell you guys, as mentioned, the design was great. I am so thankful that I found Camp Nerf and was able to use them as a reference of evidence-based intervention when developing my obesity prevention program. And also the planning was not too challenging because of the help that it gave me. So I would highly recommend utilizing Camp Nerf as an evidence-based intervention if you're trying to develop an obesity prevention program. And lastly, coming to my reflection, implementing it was fun. I enjoyed it. The kids are so fun. As you could see in some of my pictures on the first slide, it was really, they loved it, I loved it, and it was so nice to finally be able to do it after planning it for so long. Okay, so some limitations that I ran into. Surprisingly, the Boys and Girls Club was not as available as I hoped they would be. It was tricky because I needed to be there for 2 hours at a time, 2 days a week. And they have a lot of stuff set up, and they go on a lot of field trips, which is awesome, but it was really tricky to make our schedules match. But we made it work. Also, a self-report questionnaire. That is exactly what the pre-post test was. It's the kids self-reporting. And this can be a limitation because self-report questionnaires are subjective, so they're not always accurate. I noticed with my kids in particular, some of them were goofy and wanted to give you the most wild answers that you knew just were not true. So this could be improved by sending it to a panel of experts, and it would increase the internal consistency. And so I would recommend that because I did think that was a limitation with the pre-post test. And now onto recommendations. So something my supervisor actually brought up to me, she said, I wish, in the future that our students would tell us what kind of project they're interested in doing so we could try to develop relationships with potential sites in advance. And I was like, that is a really good idea, that is. Because trying to find somebody with my exact target audience and fit their schedule, it was kind of challenging, but like I said, I made it work. So that's a recommendation, is to look really early on in advance. Additionally, a larger sample size. A lot of my kids, I had a good amount, I had 20 kids. It was always around 20 kids, but some of the kids would go on a little vacation or would be sick that day, and so I missed participants here and there, and that can throw off the sample size when you're evaluating a pre-test from post-test and saying, why are my numbers different? Also, involving the counselors, huge recommendation. Kids love it. I've mentioned it already, but they really enjoy doing anything as long as you and the counselors are involved. They look up to you like role models, also showing how the social cognitive theory was really effective with this. And they're just excited to learn. Okay. So that's all I had for you today. I had a really good time implementing my project, and if you have any questions at all, please feel free to email me or call me. And I thank you guys for your time. Thank you.